one drop for each participant, a pinch of salt, and a small amount of used engine oil. Mix with water from a rest stop fountain in a glass bottle and smash it on the interstate in the evening or morning. If the instructions were followed correctly, the way will become densely foggy. An unmarked exit will appear, and if you pass by it, it will be closed to you for 6 years. If you take the exit, go left and under the interstate. Half a mile down the road is an old gas station. Inside, it is said that a full glass, the coffee sold there, will keep you awake all night, and the other food and beverages are purported to have various properties themselves. Pay the proprietor only in metal coinage. No bills, no checks, no cards. There are also some arcade machines near the back of the store, as well as an old fortune-telling wizard in a glass case. He knows how you will die. Accept no sexual favors that are offered to you while there, and do not anger anyone. Your life depends on it. The second story is called The Fault of Humanity by E. In the year 2005, the Humanity Archival Storage Project was commenced by leading government officials. Scientists and academic alumni across the world due to the fear that humanity's treasures were increasingly threatened by war and natural disasters. The project was one of the most complex undertakings in our species' history, the creation of an archive of humanity's knowledge and culture. The archival simplexical computer was designed in the early days of the project. The device was composed of iron, the most stable of elements, and built to stand as a testament to our species for millennia. After the construction of the ASC, I was assigned to the HASP team. We were a diverse bunch consisting of representatives from the fields of science, history, the arts, and every other possible area of human study. Our task was to program the device with the information and artifacts worth preserving. Our group started off cordially enough, but we quickly broke down into sects and factions as we fought visually over what would be saved. The artists wanted musical samples and paintings saved. The historians wanted their nation's prized documents included, and the scientists wanted their formulas and theories preserved. Eventually, through a series of backroom deals and shifting alliances between disparate groups, a compromise of sorts was reached, and onto the device went the formulas of Newton and Einstein, the plays of Shakespeare, the music of Mozart, the paintings of Picasso, and many of the other great discoveries and creations of humanity. In 2012, it was finally time to store the device. Locations around the world were scattered out, ranging from the Himalayas to the bottom of the Atlantic. Eventually, a decision was made to place the ASC beneath the drill team dug through the last 20 or so feet to reach appropriate levels for the ASC vault. At around noon, I heard the drilling stop. I thought they had finally reached acceptable levels, but a loud screaming that quickly filled the air freed me from this thought. A rescue team was sent in, but they reported that the drillers had hit a cavern hundreds of feet deep. A rescue operation was quickly launched, but all that was left of the team was corpses and smashed machinery. They had simply fallen from too great a height for there to be any survivors. During cleanup, the body recovery team discovered something rather unusual. An ASC-like device wedged into the corner of the cavern. The device was nearly 5,000 years old. The next story is called Friends by Fish P. I don't remember much about my childhood. Like most people, those memories are always vague, and eventually you realize whatever you remember is probably just a reconstructed memory. You don't have much choice in the matter, and are usually convinced that your memory will never fail you. The first memory I have was when I was 5. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but that's when I think I met Michael. I never had any friends, so I was glad when I met him. He called me Jack, and I liked it. As uncertain I am if I remember our first encounter, there was no doubting the strong bond we immediately formed. I won't bore you with the details of what we did every day for the past few years. I will outline some of the things we did together to assure even the most skeptical among the readers of our friendship. Michael, being a slightly effeminate child, didn't have many friends at school either. He was bullied, and the highlight of his day was coming home and sharing a cup of tea with me, all while telling me of his woes and lessening his burden. The tea, unlike my words of consolation, was make-believe. Another one of his favorite activities was cutting hair. He would style it in all sorts of ways, and I enjoyed each one of them. Fortunately for him, my hair grew inexplicably fast, and he often got a chance to restyle it. There was one thing that constantly strained our relationship, though. Don't get me wrong, Michael and I absolutely no hard feelings towards each other. It was his parents. I don't think they approve of me, and I couldn't tell you why, even if I tried. It wasn't just disapproval. I began to think they hated me. The longer our friendship lasted, the worse it got. It pains me to think about it, so I won't dwell on this for long. As quickly as our friendship had initially flourished, it began to diminish after 2 years. Michael grew to become a stocky football player, and I remained exactly the same as before, scrawny and completely incapable of competing athletically. He made new friends and started to ignore me. This hurt me a lot, especially since I was there for him in his time of need. His abandoning me was the last thing I expected, and it hit me hard. I felt like I had no one left in the world. As I sit in the corner of the room and write this, I can see Michael and haunted me. Her long black hair lay in a waterfall of seaweed. My mind was numb. I was numb. The whole world around me was just a distant noise in my ear as I focused on nothing but her. Lying there as the ambulance man appeared over the beach, she couldn't be saved. I stood on the cliff edge, watching the scene unfold. I woke up. I've had that recurring nightmare for a year now. A year since she died. You'd think it might get better, but not in my case. She comes every night without fail. Some night, she just sits on the end of my bed, humming softly as her black hair floats in wisps around her face. Others, she is sat on the chair next to me, silent, facing away from me. The most terrifying is when I wake up with a crushing pressure on my chest and find her sitting on my legs, pinning me down. I never see her face. At first, she was just a faint glow, and it was comforting. But each day her figure got stronger, and the vivid colors of her hair and dress became easier to see. She is almost complete now. Just one more night and she will look like my sister again. Tomorrow it is the anniversary of her death. Tomorrow I might see her face. When I woke up, the morning sun penetrated my curtains, and I got up. I walked down to my sister's grave and placed a bunch of lilies on the gravestone. They were always her favorite. I got into bed and drifted off to sleep. As usual, I was awoken at 3 o'clock by a glow I could see through my eyelids. Opening my eyes, I saw my sister, standing at the edge of the bed, facing me. Her eyes were sunken, and her lips were cracked from the salt water, although I strangely felt comforted. She never spoke, just led me to a path out of the front door to the cliff edge. Her intentions only became clear once she grabbed hold of my arms. My eyes filled with fear as she jumped, pulling me with her. I hit the side of the rocks multiple times and fell into the water, paralyzed. The surface drifted away above my head as her shiny black hair enveloped my body. It was quite peaceful, actually. After all, we die in the end. The next story is called Here You Go by Joranov 814. On the last night of my honeymoon, my husband Ricky and I were soaking in the beach resort's outdoor hot tub. It was December, you see, and there were maybe only 5 rooms occupied in the whole resort. Although the fire pit was burning hot and bright one lot over, but no one but us was outside. My new husband and I felt ballsy and awesome and grown up for braving the near freezing temperature to relax in the hot tub. This is so deluxe, I said on a long sigh. I sat against a jet and let it pummel my lower back. I know, said Ricky, stretching his arms out behind us and craning his neck towards the sky. You can see every star up there. You don't see that in the city. A gust blew over the hot tub, whirled the steam around, creating mini tornadoes. On the other side of the dunes behind us, the ocean slammed against the shore and hissed as it receded. I smiled, blissful. Our friends are going to be so jealous when we tell them about this, I said. I wish we could get a picture of us in this thing so I could post it on Facebook. Yeah, was Ricky's absent-minded reply, but we don't have our camera or our phones or anything out there with us, so my husband didn't care to show off like I did. Yeah, I said, silently. their imaginations when we tell them about it and let us enjoy these moments. We'll only go on our honeymoon once. I sighed and sat back against his outstretched arm. All right, you're right. I closed my eyes. We stayed out there, not talking, until the timer for the jets went off, and then we scurried back into the warm beacon of our building. The next morning, after we'd been awake for a while, Ricky noticed something square poking in under our door. Thinking it was the bill of the balance for our stay, he went over to retrieve it. "What's the damage?" I called over. He didn't respond for several times. "That bad, huh?" I asked, grinning. He turned and walked over to me. His expression was disturbed, and he had gone pale. "What?" I asked. "What's wrong?" He was holding a Polaroid picture of us from the night before. On the white part at the bottom, scrawled in black Sharpie, were the words, "Here you go." It was taken from behind. The next story is called The Popcorn Ceiling by Stupid Dial-Up. After my parents' divorce, for too many years after, my twin sister Ginny would wake me up unexpectedly in the middle of the night. Her demeanor would always be frightened and scared when she did. It always reminded me of when we were kids and she would escape to my room, away from our drunken and abusive mother. Ginny would just sit on the floor at the side of my bed and brush at my hand as we stared at each other in a comforting embrace. 5, sometimes 10 minutes would go by until she started to pull away and I'd know it was over. We would never talk, but we never had to in moments like those. She just needed a place to escape. A September night, nearly 4 years ago, was different. Ginny was exceptionally frightened and crying inconsolably. For the first time since we were children, I could feel her grasp my hand to wake me. Her grip was cold, damp, and trembling in fear. She was so scared and helpless that I felt equally scared and helpless. This is a common empathy twins share, especially so for Ginny and I. After 20 minutes of comforting her and holding her as tight as I could, I felt her slipping away again. This time she begged and pleaded to stay with me. We would never talk during her escapes, but this night was different. As I lunged and jumped to keep her from floating away, I lost my ability to feel and touch her. She floated up onto the popcorn ceiling and was dragged across harsh surface until she melted into the sheetrock and out of sight. The vision of her petrified face and desperately extended left hand will forever seared into my memory. Her husband must have been exceptionally rough that night 4 years ago, much like my mother often was when Ginny was a child. When I watched her fade away, I knew I would never see her again. For some especially for children's programming. Then a text would appear on the screen in Arabic reading, "That's where bad kids go." Eventually, both the image and the sound would fade out, and that will be the end of the episode. About 15 or 16 years later, I became a journalist photographer. That show had been in my mind all my life, popping up in my thoughts sporadically. Eventually, I'd had enough and decided to do some research. I finally managed to uncover the location of the studio where much of that channel's programming had been recorded. Upon further research and eventually traveling on site, I found out it was now desolate and had been abandoned after the big war ended. I entered the building with my camera. It was burned out from the inside. Either a fire had broken out or someone wanted to incinerate all of the wooden furniture. After a few hours of cautiously making my way into the studio and snapping pictures, I found an isolated, out-of-the-way room. Having to break through a few old locks and managing to break the heavy door open, I remained frozen in the doorway for several long minutes. Traces of blood, feces, and tiny bone fragments lay scattered across the floor. It was a small room and an extremely morbid scene. What truly frightened me, though, was what made me turn away and never wanted to come back was the bolted, caged microphone hanging from the ceiling in the middle of the room. The next story is called Bottle by MNGAMOGEMO. Couldn't spell it out. My damnation came in the form of a bottle. No, not like that. When I was a child, my best friend lived next to a little junkyard. Great place for a kid to hang out. A junkyard full of mystery and exciting discoveries. And if you find anything nice, nobody minds if you take it. Except your parents, obviously. Well, not my friend's mom. Most of their bowls and plates came from a junkyard. But anyway, one day a bunch of us were hanging out, dismantling a car. Some of us might have been interested in the parts, but I just thought breaking stuff was great. When we'd got the engine strewn everywhere, we set to work on the interior. Under one of the seats was a little glass bottle, full of some green, bubbly liquid. Curiosity trumped hygiene in those days. I uncorked it and sniffed it. The smell was pleasant, minty, a little floral. One kid, Jackie, dared me to drink it. It was a double dog dare. I had to. The taste was also pleasant. It warmed me on the way down. My body was filled with strange, pleasant tingling. Nothing happened. Not until that night. First effect, I couldn't sleep. I haven't slept since. It's alright, I get a lot done. Second effect, a month later, I start to cough things up. I was playing alone in the woods and I hacked up blood. There were chunks in the blood. Then I was puking. An entirety of my coiled long intestine came snaking up as I sat there quivering, tears on my cheeks, struggling to breathe, literally puking my guts up. My mouth seemed to unhinge like a snake's accommodate my lungs. My heart was on my sleeve. The blood stain would never have come out if I hadn't abandoned the clothes I was wearing. The police searched frantically for a missing person, but never found a thing. It wasn't empty when I finished, though. New organs built up inside me. I could feel them. close my eyes, nameless lumps and spirals springing out of nothing. Third effect. 2 months later, I began to crave the water. I can't possibly describe the feeling of thirsty skin, but it was a desperate thirst. I left my parents' house one night and walked until I came to a swamp. I moved in. The murky, bug-filled waters feels like home now, as they did all those years ago. I sit under the water, watching the fish and salamanders get eaten by herons, looking at the surface, waiting for my prey. I'm sure you know what the fourth effect was. I'm typing this on the cell phone of my latest victim. She was delicious. She smelled like fresh melons. That was scary, but the fresh lemons made me laugh. I hope you guys enjoyed the story today, and if you would like more or request a specific story